I love you guys.
Welcome to the Torg Stories podcast, June 15th, 2025, 1 o'clock Eastern. Caitlin Clark returns. The Pacers and Thunder in the NBA Finals in Asheville recommendations. And I asked you to pick a spot that you were going to make some recommendations for. Where did you choose?
I had trouble thinking because every place I thought, wow, I don't really have any recommendations. I finally picked Switzerland because I did so
Oh,
much research on Switzerland. The problem with that is, it's like 6 years old, but still.
yeah. Well, I thought you might pick like a neighborhood in LA.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
mean, what
that
am I
was,
going to recommend? Restaurants and stuff, but I'm not an outer eater.
we'll finish with that. And it's Father's Day. And I was gonna say one of my dominant Father's Day memories, which I think might be interesting to talk about because it's quite a contrast between my relationship with dad and your relationship with dad. Um, One of my most dominant memories was I played in the Father's Day two-man golf tournament at Moss Creek in Winamac, Indiana. So you would just go out there and Scott Raudebush would handicap your team and you would play and turn your score in, and then someone would win. And we placed a couple times, but and you didn't ever do the play golfs with that.
No, I never did that. I don't honestly have any Father Day memories, but to be fair, I don't really have any Mother's Day memories either. I mean, it's just a day.
No, it's not
Yeah.
really. Yeah, I didn't. That's why I didn't ask you. I was just sort of didn't want to ignore Father's Day today. Two more things. One big memory, kind of a memorable Father's Day. I don't think Izzy was born yet. Sorry, Iz. Um, Me and Megan pushed Charlotte across and back on the Brooklyn Bridge when she was probably 4 or 5. That was one.
What was a highlight for you?
And then I was asked for my request today on what I wanted to do. First off, on Friday, Charlotte was my assistant coach, along with Coach Epps, and Izzy, of course, plays for me still as Watauga competed. So I had all three of us were on the same team. That was pretty
Oh,
fun.
that's fun. Yeah.
And then I requested that we lift weights and have a family tree cleanup.
Oh, well, I'd be like, geez, Dad, thanks. This is great.
So Charlotte went to a teammate's birthday party. She'll be home this afternoon, but the rain might save everyone
From the tree cleanup.
from tree cleanup. And then I asked for fried chicken sandwiches with sliced fried potatoes. By the way, I didn't come up with these demands. The third time Megan asked me what I wanted to do, I delivered on those.
You delivered on. Here you go. Sometimes when you ask, you get something that maybe you're not hoping for. The answer should be something like, let's go for a nice drive and have a picnic, or I don't know, something like
Yeah.
that.
So Charlotte, you drove 12 hours in the last 2 days.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. No, no, I know what you're saying.
You get
More
what I'm
like more,
saying. Yeah.
more like the Brooklyn Bridge walk than the tree cleanup.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right, Ann. Yesterday, Caitlin Clark returned to play for the Fever. She'd been out 19 days with a thigh contusion. You smartly texted me, "Are you watching the Fever now or later?" That was probably an hour and 15 after tip. And I told you, and I had started the tree cleanup, and I've kind of started to like to fast forward through halftime and commercials. And so when you texted me, I thought, well, they're getting destroyed. I kind of thought they were getting destroyed, maybe. Uh,
Okay.
but tell me when you texted me to ask me that.
Well, I texted you after Caitlin Clark made her three threes, and I was like,
Yeah.
geez, that's crazy. And so I texted you and I thought, well, he might not be watching it live because, I don't know what your schedule's like with these games and stuff like that. So I tried to, and also at the Pacers game, you warned me not to text you live there. So I thought, well, maybe I should just be aware at all times. So,
And mom was incredible. Mom was watching it live. Um, and she did a good job of revealing nothing. She really didn't even look at me or talk to me.
oh, what do you mean? Why
No,
you were in the
meaning
same
meaning she
room?
no no no. Well, so the setup at our house is, as Ann knows, we have a big living room that's kind of the TV room. We actually call it the Fortnite room. And then mom is right next door. She has a big room where there's room for, two chairs and a couch and her television. Most of the time she has the door open. Somehow mom has moved to a person who doesn't like any sound on. Um,
Right.
I don't know why that is. But
Because she can't really hear. So what's the point?
I don't know. Maybe I
I
guess.
also watched the entire game in mute. I did this because, I hate to be like this, but one of the announcers I just don't like. And so I was like, I'm muting it.
Oh, I love Rebecca. I hope you don't not
No,
like
it's
her.
the other girl. And I find I enjoy games sometimes better if they're mute. I watched a lot of the Pacers game on mute, but that's more because of the tenseness. I just don't want to hear them talk.
So maybe it's genetics.
Maybe it is genetics. Yeah, I think hers is more with the hearing, but yeah, I do watch it on mute. It does take a little away from the excitement of the game. I agree.
So your eyes
But
are glued on the television while there's no sound?
I wouldn't say glued, but I'm watching the game pretty much. Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
my
without any
my
sound.
my family, I'm going to accuse you of this, defend yourself. My family will say they watch the game when they don't really watch the game. They look at their phones and they glance at the game. Um, the game
I would
yesterday,
say the other way around. I watch the game, but I do glance, of course,
yeah.
at my phone and so forth.
And then once, so I'll just, this was for later, but the Fever were down 21-15. Caitlin hits three threes in 33 seconds. And then I got this off the play-by-play. 33-foot running pull-up, 27-foot, and then a 31-footer. So that, and then the game was tied 24-24. Caitlin finished with 25. So, um, I mean, I don't think
It's,
we've seen it. The last time I remember that is when you and I were talking about Arike, the girl I can't say her last name for the Dallas Wings. She kind of put on a third quarter shooting spree. It was, one of the five greatest shooting stretches I've seen.
yeah, to me, Caitlin's are just also because it's not that she made three threes in a row. It's just they seem like crazy threes. Like
Yeah.
the first, I think it was the first one. I was like, "What are you taking that for?" And then it goes in, and you're like, "Oh, I guess I should just recalibrate what I think is a bad shot when she's playing." And then she threw up her fourth one. I thought the fourth one was a little bit crazy too, and she missed it. But yeah, it's like these shots are just seem insane.
So Steve Kerr says, I've heard Steve Kerr say that um, Steph Curry doesn't take any bad shots because he's Steph Curry.
Right? Yeah, and I guess that's the way perhaps we
You
should
just
think
give
about
up
her
and you're
too.
like,
Yeah.
okay, I guess you're shooting.
Oh, she's going to make that? Yeah, that seems crazy.
And
And then she's kind of flying. She looks off balance a little bit and she makes it. So it's like, okay.
yeah, not a little bit off balance. I would say drifting 5 feet to the left
Right. Yeah.
off
The
the dribble.
drifting. It's like, how did that go in?
And so I think Caitlin will always take, and I think she's probably right. She'll take 2 to 4 of those because that's what people came for.
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it makes the game 100% better. It made the game 100% more exciting
And
for
then,
sure.
they're going, and so it was shocking that she was as good as she was. Let's do the stat line, Ann, while we're talking about that. Um,
Especially first half, right? The first half was off the chain.
right. So, the magic wore off or she got tired. Clark, 11 to 20 from the field, 7 to 14 from three, 3 of 5 free throws, 8 rebounds, 9 assists, 32 points. So I didn't know what to expect. I didn't really expect that off an injury.
Right. I mean, 25 points in the first half. She did have a lot of turnovers. Some of those passes, she makes an incredible pass, but then she'll also throw a pass that you're like, that's insane pass. I guess a lot like her shots. Like, I don't know about that pass. That pass seems a little crazy.
I didn't want to conflate my praise, wow, what a game, with the next stat that I saved, which was 7 turnovers.
Right. 7 turnovers, a lot of turnovers. But yeah, it's her first game back. They're also playing a really tough opponent. I get it. The tough opponent did have two important
Yeah.
people out.
Who was
Um,
out, but who counts as important besides Jonquel Jones?
well, the woman from Germany is a good player. I don't even know
Oh,
how to
right,
say her name.
Phoebish,
Phoebish?
Phoebish,
Phoebish.
Phoebish, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, she
Not to
is
admit.
playing for Germany, I guess, some kind of FIFA thing.
Oh, okay.
That's
And then they,
important
of course,
too.
lost one of their starters. I can't remember her name for the year to a knee injury. Oh, Lainey Hamilton, I think is her name.
Oh, really? I didn't even realize that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So
So
yeah, that's tough. But they still had Stewart and Sabrina. So
standings update: Fever go to 5-5. They're in seventh place out of 13 teams. The Liberty, that was their first loss. They go to 9-1, but that puts them in second place behind the 10-1 Minnesota Lynx.
right. Yeah. It looks like Minnesota and New York. They're the best players or the best teams, right? By far, perhaps. I don't know.
Right. I'm still hoping we can throw. I don't know. I think that the Dream are 7-3. I was talking them up. Um, I put down one of my $5 win the finals bets. I also have one on the Fever. And then they went out and lost to Connecticut, and I was like, oh, I don't know. But so they've kind of rebounded 7-3, pretty good. I would put the Fever in there, right? I think the Fever
Right.
would
I
do
think they're contenders, but I wouldn't say they're the leading contenders. Yeah.
so.
Almost like, the Pacers in the middle of the season. You're like, well, they're there. They're there.
Yeah, I would say one big difference. When healthy, Clark might be the best player in the league, one of the best 3 to 5 players in the league. The Pacers, we don't think have that.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. The most electrifying player in the league, for sure. We'll
Yeah,
give her
bad
that.
bad start. Got down 15-6. Caitlin went out with 5:44 to go in the first, and I kind of wondered what we were going to get with her when she was going out with that much time left in the first quarter.
Right. Perhaps she just needed some breath. I think she was pretty tired during the game. There's nothing like being in a game, right? Versus your conditioning. So yeah. My overall assessment of the Fever, I thought Colson looked better, right? She looked like
Yeah.
a real player out there.
Way down in my notes is McDonald released. If the Fever could, and I don't know. If the Fever could do whatever they want, they probably keep McDonald and release Colson and get out of that contract. But Colson's best game of the year, I think.
Right. She
Uh,
made some
I
shots.
think she'd only hit 4 threes all year and hit 2 yesterday. Played 20 minutes, so you know, kind of like out of the rotation, not playing very much. Now we got to play because Caitlin's minutes maybe are a little down, and maybe you feel like you have nothing to lose and you take advantage of it.
Right. Yeah. I liked it.
So I wonder, take notice, Coach White, take notice, Fever. Is there anything to Caitlin going out for 90 seconds a little more frequently?
Say it again. Is there anything going out? You mean take her out for 90 seconds more frequently?
So
Yeah.
she comes out with 5:44 to go. She's out like a minute and a half. She comes back in. Does that help a lot, maybe?
Right. Like these brief rests. I saw somebody say that about Shea too in the Pacers that he got out like for 45 seconds once. And it's like, oh, you get your breath. I guess you never think about that, but I guess so.
It's three.
Um,
It's 3 sprints off. It's a sip of
right.
water.
Yeah. Some sprints off. You catch your breath. Everybody likes a little rest. No one likes sprinting it at day, time after time after time. You like a little break. So I always used to hate that drill where you would sprint and then you jog back and be like, oh, can't I just walk? Uh,
You guys conditioned.
yeah, yeah, I don't like that. So
I try to condition playing competitive games the most I can.
well, that's great. It's more fun that way.
Let your desire to win push you is what I'm hoping
Push
for.
you. Yeah.
Sometimes people don't care if they win, which is a bummer.
Also, the Fever had I'm gonna forget her name right off the top of my head. The tall, skinny girl was out. Oh, Dewana Bonner was out for
Oh,
some personal reasons or something.
yeah.
So that could have been a little bit of a big deal too, off the bench, I guess. But Cunningham was back. She looked pretty good, I thought, right? She looked good. She didn't
She
score a
did.
lot, but she
Two
was out
things.
there.
Yeah, there was a good steal and then did something right away, and I forget what it was. Maybe she took a charge.
She
Not
always
sure.
brings a lot of energy and intensity, I would say. So
All right, 2 more key stats from the game. Sabrina played 38 minutes every minute, but two scored 34 points, shot 14 free throws.
I
So
know she had the same amount of
scored
points,
24.
right, than Caitlin, but just less electrifying, but but still pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, had a really, a little bit less efficient, I think. Fever 17 for 35 from three, Liberty 6 for 29.
Did you see the Caitlin Clark block on Brianna Stewart? I thought that was pretty
No, I
impressive.
don't think I did. I
They
didn't.
maybe called a foul, but I don't think it was a foul. I don't think they called a foul. It looked like a block to me. I thought that was pretty cool. It was like a
I've
breakaway layup.
I've been no, I do. Okay. Yes, I do. Knocked it out of I would have She knocked it out of her
Knocked it
hands
out of bounds.
off
Yeah.
her leg, and then
Yeah.
they got the ball back. That was a good play. Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, who blocks Brianna Stewart? Not many people.
they don't. All right, I got some random notes. So we had Rebecca Lobo on the call, one of my favorites, UConn, right? Uh,
Right?
I wondered where my guy Ryan Rucco was. I've said before I have a special attachment to him because he started out either on the 4 or 5 a.m. shift on ESPN radio in New York. And so I used to try to be at my desk at St. John's by 6 in the morning writing, and I would listen to Ryan Rucco, and they all teased him as the golden voice of ESPN that he wouldn't be there for long. It turned out to be true. He had a baby. Did you see that?
No, I didn't. I don't know anything about Ryan Rucco.
So
It
Ryan
seems like
wasn't.
he would already have his children. How old do you think he is?
I don't know how old he is. It's not. I don't think it's his first kid.
Yeah. Okay.
And then Rebecca Lobo made some funny jokes that when they put the newborn baby's picture on the screen, the Fever fans were booing a video replay.
Oh, okay.
And
Yeah.
they were
So they
like,
weren't
I
booing a
think the kid,
child,
I
I
think
hope.
the kid's name was Remy,
Remy. Yeah,
a
that's a good name.
guy. Yeah. Um, I had no idea if that was a male or female name. Probably
I
both.
think it can go either way. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you had Stewart. So you had a lot of UConn on the broadcast, Dan, and you're a UConn hater.
Well, you're going to have a lot of UConn and women's basketball, period. So you do have to
That's right.
you have to
That's
get
right.
used to that. It doesn't bother me that much. But like I said, I didn't even hear the banter. So banter is
Oh, that's
regardless to
right.
me.
You
Yeah, it was all on mute. I know nothing about his children, nothing about any of that.
I like the time lapse photography that shows going from the Pacers floor the night before to the Fever floor for the afternoon. That's fun.
Right, you're a sucker for that time lapse. Yeah, I always like the ones where they go to the hockey rink,
Hmm.
right? Basketball to hockey. That's always more impressive to me.
Wow.
But yeah,
Yeah. I
pretty
can't even
cool.
imagine.
I
How do
don't
they
love the Indiana Fever floor, but it's
good?
okay. It's better than some of the crazy ones.
Megan was just saying how much she liked it.
Really, I like
Uh,
the interior of the 3 point, but I don't like the overall color. It's like too dark to me.
it's shades of gray.
Yeah,
I said it's growing on me.
it's not as bad as some of those real
It
extreme
doesn't
ones.
distract me. Sometimes floors are such that you can't see the players very well.
Right. To me, the most distracting floor is it Oregon who has the crazy
Yeah.
floor? Yeah, I dislike that. But
Like once in a while, you'll get like a really dark floor and a team's got dark jerseys on, and you're like, I can't see the players.
yeah, to me, it's a little too grayed out. It's like, oh, am I watching this on a color TV or not? Um,
Yeah.
so I think that maybe could be on the bad side, but it's not too bad. But I don't love it.
While we're on a tangent, I really like the Pacers name, named after the pace car, Racing City. Do we do as good as we could with Fever?
I mean, it doesn't have any correlation to Indiana. I mean, are people in Indiana getting more fevers than the rest of
I
the
know. That's what it evokes
country?
for
I
me.
don't think
So
so.
I looked it
It's not
up.
particularly hot in Indiana. I mean, sure, it gets hot, but
The
it's not
fever
particularly
comes
hot.
from Indiana has the basketball fever.
Okay. Yeah.
I
Well,
know.
yeah. I
But
don't love it.
I
Yeah.
didn't quickly think of, is there something else crucial to racing than pace cars? We don't want them to be the Indiana checkered flags.
No, you don't. I mean, the Pacers, I like it. I don't love it. I mean, a
Uh,
pace car is just keeping the pace. It's not winning a race. So I think there's a little bit of bad stuff about that. And I don't love a big P. I
hmm.
disagree with you. I know you like the hand better. I like this P better.
The
Just
P
because
I'm
it at
holding up
least
right
has
now.
racing elements to it. It makes the basketball seem like it's racing away in
Oh,
speed. See the speed with it. So I like the new one better. But also, I always usually do like new logos better too. I like the new logo. I saw a TikTok yesterday. You like the old Pacers logo or the new one? Everybody's saying the old, and I was like, no, I like the new one. So yeah, and
and
I
you
don't
have
mind Indiana Fever's look, even though my most unfavorite colors are red, white, and blue. At least they throw the yellow in there, and I like the blue color. The blue isn't blue blue; it's a navy blue. So I don't mind the whole look and the color scheme and their uniforms. Those are all good.
there's something about I think all of the WNBA uniforms I don't like.
None of them you like, really.
Not necessarily a design. I think it's the cut of the shorts and the
Yeah. Oh
tops.
no, I was just gonna say the thing I like the most would be the shorts.
Mm.
Maybe a little too short, but I mean, surely the player can pick the length of the shorts they want. I like the style of the shorts. I don't like the big word of the fever, but otherwise I like the shorts actually.
Yeah, I mean, I like of course, I like what Watauga wears. They have some Nike uniforms. The girls tend to like roll them up and roll them in. Like the girls
Yeah, I
almost,
hate that. It's a
yeah,
young people thing, I
yeah.
guess.
I think most of the kids, I mean, they basically look like what you and I might have called bicycle shorts.
Right, yeah. Bicycle shorts were big back in the day though
Like we
too.
let
Yeah.
we let the kids Friday, our seniors decided they just wanted to wear black shorts, and we were getting ready to leave, and I'm like, Izzy, are those the shorts you're wearing? She was like, yeah. And I was like, well, they look kind of like tights, but she wore them.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. What are you going to say about
And to
kids
me,
in fashion?
the WNBA forms are more boxy, longer.
If I was going to pick a pair of shorts to wear, I mean, I would go more old fashioned. Let me have some
Well,
really
you would,
long,
right?
yeah, some really long
Same. I mean, I would as well, of course.
NBA type shorts. That's what I would pick. But yeah,
All
I
right,
mean, even those shorty shorts back in the 80s, like Bird or something. I never liked those, like Larry Bird shorts.
right.
Yeah.
When Caitlin hit her third three, she stuck her tongue out. It was pretty long.
I like Mike, just like Mike, right?
And Megan Torgerson's quote, nobody wants to see anybody else's tongue, including Michael Jordan's. That's what Megan
Yeah, I
said.
never wanted to see Michael Jordan's tongue. It
I
seems
didn't,
crazy. It
yeah,
must be a reflex or a tick, because nobody really wants to show their tongue like that unless they're making a joke or something, I would think. So, yeah, I mean, a tongue. Whenever I think of tongues, I always think of like a beef tongue, seeing a beef tongue in a deli case or something and being like, oh, who could eat this? But people do. It's
I
like
don't want,
gray. You ever see a big
I,
gray cow's tongue?
yeah,
And
I
oh,
don't
I
want
hate
one
it.
either. I'm done with that topic.
Okay.
There was a funny, so with our image that'll go with the YouTube video and the social share at thetorg.com. One of the pictures is Caitlin and Brianna. I think it looks like Brianna Stewart's kind of shoving Caitlin. They had a funny little moment. Caitlin hit a ridiculous shot, and Brianna sort of laughed and I guess kind of started shoving on Caitlin, and she shoved her back. I enjoyed that moment of like, I mean, in my mind, I'm saying something like, "And you turkey, I can't believe you made that." I'm sure that's not what she said. Um, but
Nobody calls people turkeys. Yeah.
instead of being full of like raging hatred, just to
Right.
like try to get somebody stopped and then have a laugh when they hit a crazy shot. I enjoyed that.
Right. I think I think Caitlin Clark said something to her,
Mm,
a little trash talking, but not in a bad way.
yeah.
And Brianna Stewart just reacted to that. So yeah, you like to see good moments between people. I think there's a lot of, even in the NBA, there's a lot of love for each other. It's just you're competing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I never wanted to rip someone's heart out, yeah,
Mm,
but I
right.
never wanted to laugh with them either. So I don't know.
Yeah.
But
I
in these levels, these people get to know each other. I mean, they're
sure.
playing each other over and over.
And they have to collaborate things like
Yeah,
that.
all-star games, the USA,
In that league they formed, that didn't Brianna
three on
Stewart
three stuff.
co-found that
Yeah.
league? Yeah. So something that I guess people just put up with, um, I think twice with Lexi Hull, once with Kelsey Mitchell. Caitlin
Missile.
just throws her hands up like this. I mean, just double both hands up, like, oh my God, I can't believe you missed that. And then she also did that when Natasha Howard was like working in the post, and Caitlin's standing out there half open. Howard ends up scoring. I'm sure they're all going to see those things on the replay. How do they navigate that?
I don't know. She might have to really work on her body language. Might be better. I do see her with her hands a lot, and I always thought it was more like, "Give me the ball, throw the ball back to me."
That's what the one with Natasha Howard was.
Yeah, and then they make it, and she's like, oh, "Okay, well, but you still should have gave me the ball." So yeah, obviously she does have some intensity things that you think, you need to kind of work on that and revise that a little bit to be a better teammate.
So
Uh,
I think on the one hand, probably those guys just have to say that's Caitlin.
right? Yeah, we know
But
how
there's
she
no
is.
question that if I was on Caitlin's team, and of course I've had different teammates who would do something like this, and I might say, well, that's Caitlin. But I also know I would lose it and pop off 3 or 4 times out of 40 games. At least I would scream back at her.
Right. Or say, just made it, girl. What's
Yeah.
wrong? Yeah.
Yeah.
Something.
You
Well,
didn't,
she should be able to take it. Maybe she can take it if they
I
do
think she
that.
probably can take it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think she
So,
probably would say she's sorry and I got to do
yeah, I
better.
think she probably recognizes her stuff.
And
Sometimes
I don't,
people are so intense. Their intensity just cannot be. It's really tough to be altered.
I don't think that she's going to be able to change all the way.
Yeah, maybe you don't want her to change too much because maybe it takes away the good parts of the
That's true.
intensity.
The
You
pace,
got to put up
sorry.
with it, just like you got to put up with Michael Jordan's gambling. Some things you just got to deal with because they're so good.
The Fever had a 19-0 run in the third quarter.
The runs in basketball always just make me so nervous, right? You never know, is a run going to go and then it's going to run back and forth, or is the run really going to bury and finish someone? And I'm not good at predicting that.
I'll finish up with the Fever. Well, actually, I got two things to transition us to the Pacers. In both Caitlin Clark and Tyrese Halliburton, first of all, both teams get the ball in very quickly and pitch it ahead after a score. They're incredible at that. I've showed my team video of the Pacers getting the ball in after they get scored on. And for both teams, I often miss the next basket or most of the next play because I'm looking at a tight shot of the person who scored, and that's driving me crazy.
Right. You think that camera people need to adapt for sure. Because how many times do you also see, when they're doing that, like the three of the people who just were on offense are standing around kind of they're still thinking about their offensive play. So that's their advantage. And so the camera wants to linger with that. But yeah, you're right. The cameraman got to get on the stick, especially you're in the finals. You need to know how the other teams play.
And I do think, on the one hand, they do adjust sometimes, but I also think they have this technology and these people have jobs, and they're like, whether you call it the hero shot or whatever you call it, and scored, we're paying people, we got cameras, let's show this shot. And you do that at the expense of the next play. I realize I'm a coach, and so I'm looking for some things that the average fan might not be.
Well, to me, the most annoying thing is when I have to look at an interview on a split screen when the third quarter's starting. It's like, I don't even care what this coach is saying. Get him off my screen. At least I feel like the Fever did, or I feel like the WNBA does a lot of voiceovers. So at least I'm not having to look at him. But then they'll pan to the coach talking on the sideline, walking with the microphone attached to them, which that annoys me too. Like I got to talk to the media while I'm trying to coach this team. At least the interviews are before it starts. So yeah, I would ban all those interviews.
Yeah,
Get rid of all
nice.
the interviews. Yeah.
What I almost yell, not quite yell at the television is show me the game.
Right. Show me the game. I
Show
mean,
me the
remember
game.
the WNBA when they were doing those interviews walking into the locker room?
Yeah.
Like the players walking to the locker room were going to do a walk and talk. It's just stupid. Just embarrassing.
Good phrase, Ann. Walk and talk.
A walk and talk. Yeah,
All right,
that's from the West Wing.
Here's our is it?
Well, West Wing would have a lot of scenes where they'd be walk and talks, and that's where I would hear it. They'd be like, "It's a
So
walk
you
and
watched
talk."
the West Wing, but you wouldn't give the newsroom a try.
Right. The West Wing's supposed to be far superior than the newsroom.
You were right about the news show. I stopped.
And I stopped the West Wing after a couple seasons too.
I am flying away on Landman, still enjoying.
I'll have you know, I did buy a month worth of Paramount Showtime. Showtime has absolutely nothing on it. It's worthless.
Why did you buy it?
But I bought it because I thought I have been listening to this podcast that was doing redos of the Mission Impossible movies. And I thought, I'd like to see some of these scenes again. And I thought for $12, I'll watch some of these. So I watched Rogue Nation kind of yesterday. I fast forwarded a lot and I watched a little bit of the action scenes and stuff. So that's why I got it. It has all the Mission Impossible movies on it.
And it has Landman?
It does have Landman. I saw it. I saw a scene on TikTok of Landman where a woman drove up into one of those drive-through liquor stores and they were loading up her trunk. And it was from Landman. So there must be some kind of strong, wisecracking woman character in Landman. Who's a partier.
There are, I can think of at least.
I did not recognize her. Yeah.
Billy Bob's wife is pretty crazy, opinionated.
Right. Have you been to the drive-through liquor stores? I feel like they were in Florida when I lived there. I didn't go, but I saw
We didn't
them,
have any of those in Indiana. I never went to one. But
no, I don't recall in Indiana.
Yeah, I see them. I think I've seen them in North Carolina. Oh no,
I think I've also seen them in New Orleans.
I guess I've seen probably if it was North Carolina, I probably saw beer because you can't buy liquor.
I've never seen one in North Carolina.
Anyway, maybe you'll end up getting into Landman.
Maybe I will. Yeah,
and we could talk about it as a whole season, not show by show, if you just happen to watch it.
Okay, keep that in mind.
Transition to the Pacers. The the Pacers had been 8-0 when Clark went to the game. Clark went to the game Friday night and they lost.
Well, we have to remember these little superstitions that we have about people going to games, about what T-shirt I wear the day of the game, about whether I wear yellow socks or whatever, are all stupid and silly, and it has no effect on the game.
I don't have them. I don't have
I
those.
do. I wore my shirt twice and they lost, so I stopped wearing it. But I know that's stupid. It doesn't affect the game.
The I mean, the reason I sometimes am a tiny bit superstitious, take for example Kate Sears, who played for Watauga last year. I knew that if Kate saw me breaking, if she saw me doing something that was like not superstitious, or I would play along with all of her knocking on wood, just because I knew it bothered her.
Right. If you're talking about one of the players and they have superstitions that help them get into their mind zone, that's another thing.
Someone says, Torg, that's our lucky shirt. Okay, I'll keep wearing it.
Right. I'm talking about a fan in LA sitting in their apartment
Right.
has no effect on the Pacer game. And yes, Caitlin Clark is in the audience, but surely she doesn't really have an effect on the game.
Right. So, and Pacers lost.
Yeah, it was unfortunate. You kind of feel like half of me is like, oh my God, you guys blew it. You were in the driver's seat. You could have won easily, not easily, but you had a real shot of winning and you blew it and now it's over. But the other half of me says, no, it's not over. Basically, we've been winning every other game and they've been winning every other game. And if that continues, we actually would win because we won the first game. So I'm
like
trying to
it.
keep myself positive thoughts like that. And I keep on thinking, you know what? It's not 3-2, it's 2-2.
Right.
It's tied at 2-2. We would be thrilled with this at the beginning of the series. So I'm trying not to hang my hat on that we blew
We
it
thought the
too
series
much.
could be over after 4 games.
Right. And the first game, they blew it. So now we blew it. So it's kind of even on the blowings. So we're hoping it's just pure basketball now. But we did definitely blow it. I had some dumb shots there at the end. We went like isolation too much at the end, like the
Hmm.
offense looked stagnant. So I think that's why, I guess, is what I would say. What are your thoughts?
Well, so you took me into the end a little bit.
Okay, you want to start at the
No, no,
beginning?
no, that's good. I'm trying to look for my note on that. Okay. So shoot, I didn't write down how much time was left. Oh, there it is. Pacers are up 4. Of course, they're up 10 at one point. They're up 4 with 3:20 to go. SGA hits a three to cut it to 1. So with 3:20 to go, the Pacers did not make another basket. They fouled twice before the ball was inbounded, which gave Oklahoma City free throws and the ball back. And then they missed free throws. SGA made shots and free throws. That was the game. So I haven't been here in a while, which is the shoulda coulda feeling of like, oh, we almost had it. With my own team, we lost pretty decisively in the playoffs last year to a really good team that won the state title. So I didn't like spend a lot of time after the season was over going, well, if this and this would have happened, who knows what. I've had years where like there was an obvious wrong call that caused me to live in regret for months. So I'm kind of back in that spot because the Pacers had a really big chance right here.
Right, they had a really big chance, and it was actually a little closer than the final score showed because of the free throw situation at the end. Mentioning free throws, they were 34 for 38. We were 25 for 33. So make your stupid free throws, idiots. And
And bringing it, idiots.
Obi Toppin missing his free throws, and then Matherin missing those two free throws at the end too. Now, even if he made those, it would have been a tough to win on the Matherin one. But gosh, missing two free throws in a row as an NBA player is mind-boggling to me. Um, Perhaps I expect too
So
much. I just feel like if your whole life is basketball, you should be able to make free throws.
yeah.
Uh,
So the Pacers were 75.8, which sounds good to a high school basketball coach, but isn't really that good on the NBA level. So they went 75. So Oklahoma City not only shot more free throws, they also hit 89% of their free throws. So that was a huge part of the game.
it was a huge part of the game. And overall, the game, way too many free throws. Do I have to get these little ticky, you know, I don't want to be like blaming the refs because we lost the game, whatever. But the refs were just ridiculous to me this game. Like just little tiny little fouls that were not being called before were being called. Uh, just and it really halted the game. The momentum was stop and go, stop and go. So I didn't really enjoy that part either. The
That
fouls
was a
sucked.
little 30 seconds from you that sums up why some people say they stop watching the NBA.
Right. Well, it wasn't like this the other games, you know. You've gone back. The calling was just not even. Why don't we have one crew the whole time? Is it not like that? It doesn't seem to be.
No, yeah, that makes sense that you wouldn't do that, I think.
You just think
Just
it's fair to mix it up.
yeah, because I think I see, I mean, you would do it because you could adjust to how they call it, but I think yeah, I think it's probably more of an accurate snapshot of what a season is like that you're trying to crown a champion. Interesting thought, Ann. I mean, the first thing I listed, um, and we sound like homers
I
who are
know. I hate to complain about the refs too much, but
I felt really frustrated about the calls that SGA gets. Really, I felt really the thing I feel most frustrated about, and Caitlin, I saw do this the next day. You're guarding me, and I throw my forearm into your chest really hard, and that seems like a totally okay thing to do, I guess, which I don't get.
it is definitely seems like an okay thing to do. Not only in your arm, but just your whole body. Like if you're both moving and you throw your bodies into. But if you're not, but the thing is, they called a couple of those too.
Yeah.
It's like, well, let it go, but then oh, you kind of barely brushed me, so I'm going to call this foul on Neesmith. Or that other guy too, the other end
Nemhart.
guy, Nebhard. Yeah, it's like I feel like they got a couple calls that were just ridiculous, and then you got that other guy, Dort, throwing his elbow into Tyrese, and you know nothing gets called. I get that nobody's really looking out there because it's a free throw, but yeah, just ridiculous things like that. So I didn't love the fouling,
So,
but at the same
uh,
time, we didn't make shots, right? We missed a lot of open shots. Turner missed a lot of shots. I'm used to watching Turner have open threes and he hits them. He bangs them down. And he didn't hit many at all. I don't even know if he hit any, maybe one. Also, a couple of horrible, I think Tyrese had an air ball and maybe Nebhard had an air ball too. Just a couple of shots that were just like, oh, what are you guys doing? And then at the end, yeah, the offense wasn't flowing. We had a little the shot clock goes down and some guys just dribbling around, and that's not what the Pacers usually do, right?
and
That's like
that's not
Boston
Pacers
Celtics basketball.
basketball.
That's not Pacers basketball.
Keep the
That's
ball
like
moving.
Jason Tatum basketball. So,
Ooh,
you know, and I hate that basketball. That's the most boring basketball to
right.
watch to me. I'm not watching a one-on-one tournament. I'm watching team basketball. So they need to get the passes flying. Uh, and maybe, you know, maybe the defense just overwhelmed them there at the end. I don't know.
I think Nemhart does such a Neesmith not as good, but at this. Nemhart does such a great job of keeping his hands up and away so that everyone can see where they are, which makes all of the SGA forearms to the chest even more obvious. And it happens almost every time he drives. It's not like so I get putting your arm up to ward off contact, which I would certainly show people to do, but making that strong forearm is driving me crazy. At least there was a plentiful amount of complaining on Twitter about that from non-Pacers fans that it made me feel like, okay, people are going to pay attention to this.
I hope so. And, you know, Shea made that three, which is really big. And I felt like somebody get out there, guard him on the three. What are you doing? Get in the space. And he made it. Then the very next play, I think he made this baseline shot, and it looked like to me he traveled out the city. Uh, you know, it's hard for me as an old school person to adapt to this. We can take 1,700 steps before a basket.
Uh,
And, you know, people don't even realize we didn't play like that back in the day, guys. You couldn't take an extra step. That was called a travel. But he took like two extra steps on
when
that
did
one.
we ever, when was the first time we heard something about the gather? Do you know what I'm
Right, the
talking?
gather or the Euro step. The Euro
So
step didn't exist.
people will ask me, a parent will come up and say, and they'll go, Torg, is this travel? And I say, I don't know.
Yeah, I have no idea. You're right. Yeah, good
I
point.
mean, there's a whole, I don't go down the rabbit hole on Twitter. People love to, they'll be 100 comments on is this travel or not. I just don't dig in on the rules to that degree. And I was telling Andy Eggers is a middle school coach in our program, middle school athletic director who also officiates college men's games. And I was like, one of my weaknesses, I don't teach people to carry the ball.
Right. Yes. The dribbling, the carrying.
Not
Another
out of
one.
principle. I don't even know how to start teaching you how.
Right.
Here's how
Yeah.
you travel, and here's how you carry
Here's
it.
how you carry the basketball like a platter of food around the basketball court. But I would agree that actually the Eurostep makes it kind of more fun to watch. So I don't really hate it. It's just that this was like shuffling around extra two steps. So I was against that shot too. But yeah, Pacers have no one else to blame. They missed their free throws. Their offense got stagnant. They did ISOs. And also the up and down of some of these Pacer players is really rough, right?
Yeah.
Like Neesmith actually offensively, he really doesn't do much except for that one Knicks game. And Matherin, you scored 27 points and now you score like 4 or 8. I don't know what you did, but you scored very little. And when you went in, you made some real bonehead mistakes. So that up and down, this is really rough. The game also, Caruso had this great game, made me dislike him even more. I'm not a Caruso fan.
Wait,
So yeah.
let me go. So let me give you your Matherin. Let's see.
How many
So
minutes, first of all?
Huh?
How many minutes did he play?
14.
Yeah, so he wasn't impressing anybody.
14 minutes, 1 for 2 from the field, 1 for 2 from 3, 5 free throws, 8 points. I just thought I would go to that since you brought him up. One thing I really do enjoy is the chippiness between the Canadians, Nembhard and SGA. That's been kind of fun.
Yeah, I enjoyed the little shove a couple of games ago. That was fun. There's some more Canadians, right? There's another Canadian in this, or I'm not
Is
thinking.
Dort
Is Dort
Canadian?
a Canadian?
It might be
he is a
Dort.
Canadian.
Yeah, it is Dort. I just had a flashback to a picture. So Ann Turner went, you already brought this up. Turner went 0 for 6 from 3.
Yeah, he's got to make at least 3 of
We
those.
need a couple.
Yeah.
No big scoring game from anyone. So we've gotten
Right.
these kind of random. Pascal scores 39, Matherin, Nembhard, but even Halliburton. Nobody scored big. And then to me, a really big concern, Oklahoma City went 3 of 16 from 3 and won.
Right. Yeah, I've heard that a lot.
They got beat 20. They got beat by 24 on the 3-point line, and they won.
Yeah, that's rough. But yeah, I mean, they just won to me, they won the 3-throw battle, and that was the main point. And at the end, we didn't look good, and that's been our bread and butter, looking good at the end.
Yeah, we kind of went back to what we've done in the past. I mean, I think Dort seems to be almost a one of a kind defensively. I guess I don't mind, and they're probably trap Halliburton. Can we get a Halliburton switch and then let's give Halliburton some space and get the best shot you can, and if they help, let's shoot that 3. We weren't even getting that. We played with the ball. We had the ball out by midcourt late in the shot clock, and a lot of those misses that you were talking about, those are like end of shot clock desperation misses.
Right. Yeah. They weren't getting the good shots. I subscribed just for this month to this. You probably heard of her, this Caitlin Cooper person, Basketball She Wrote.
No.
Oh, okay. Well, she really analyzes the X's and O's, and I mean, it's most of it's like ununderstandable to me. It was like $3 for this month, and so I did it, and it's been really fun. It's been interesting. She's really knowledgeable.
How do you get to
Patreon? So you got to subscribe to Patreon. She's not a podcast.
Website.
Oh yeah, Patreon is like for podcasts, you pay extra and they get you extra episodes.
Sure. No, I know what that is. I'm just saying, how do you? You're listening to a podcast? You're watching it? What?
No, I'm watching on YouTube because it's a lot of visuals. She'll have breakdowns of stuff, and she's been doing it.
Let's be more clear about what it is then.
Basketball She Wrote.
There we go.
Caitlin Cooper. You can find her on Twitter, Caitlin Cooper. Everybody's like, oh, Caitlin, the Caitlin? No, it's Caitlin Cooper from Indiana. And she apparently is from Indiana and is like the daughter of a coach or something.
There we go. That's nice.
But she's getting a lot of coverage this month because of her knowledge of the Pacers, because she's followed the Pacers this whole time.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's opened my eyes a little bit about, offenses and things you can do because man, I'm like swimming in deep water there. I just don't know.
I've always said, I've always tried to get Ann to jump on board and coach with me, but she's not interested.
Yeah, I just don't. I just have never gotten a hold. Even when I was a player and they'd be explaining offense to me, I'd be like, "What?" It was almost like intellectually, I just couldn't get there. Um, for whatever reason, it was just it's hard for me
Right.
maybe to translate it to the court or something. But anyway, I have been watching a lot of that, and that's been interesting. And that brings me up to what I was going to say. At the end, I felt like I looked up and Siakam wasn't even playing, and it was like under 4 minutes. And I was like, why don't we have Siakam on the court? I don't understand.
They did
It's
take
like
him out.
sometimes he can just get lost out there. Yeah.
Who gets lost?
Like Siakam. Like, let's give the ball to Siakam and have him do some stuff.
Yeah, I agree. I think they liked. Well, I don't know. I think they're trying to get him a little break, and
It was
and
like 3 minutes to go.
Halliburton's break has gotten a lot shorter. He comes in a lot sooner than he would in the regular season. So I think when Halliburton comes in the fourth, right in there is probably when they're trying to get Siakam his break. I think they like Toppin, but we want Siakam.
Right. I get that Siakam and they want one of them to be on the court all
Siakam
the
can
time, right?
back probably any. Siakam can probably score on anybody, um, with Chet being the toughest.
Right. Yeah. Um, Toppin still did pretty good. Toppin's scoring some points here. The free throw misses hurt me, but otherwise he's doing pretty good. To me, you got to have Turner step up and maybe a little bit more from Siakam.
So Toppin 7 to 12 from the field, 17.7
Yeah,
rebounds.
that's solid from off the
Excellent.
bench, right?
29 minutes.
He was the best off the bench out of anybody because even McConnell really didn't do much, right?
I don't
10
think
points maybe.
Toppin can't really. McConnell shifting gears, 18 minutes, 3 of 7. No, 8 points.
Just think of what he
But
did in the third game
sure.
versus the fourth game. Yeah.
So we like well, Toppin got 29 minutes and Neesmith got 30. So unless you just want some more Toppin. I mean, I've gone from not liking Toppin in the Knicks series because I thought he was doing too much to now looking for a way that I might be able to start him or up his minutes.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily saying I want more of him. I'm just saying, congrats, Toppin. You're doing a great job. You're playing your role very well. I like it. And you seem to be actually a little more consistent than somebody like Matherin. And I've always liked Matherin, so I hope Matherin has a nice bounce back game.
All right, I've got 4, we'll call them statistical trivia questions. It's kind of a way to talk about the game, and everyone can play along. Who leads the Thunder and Pacers in minutes?
Out of both teams?
So you're doing one for each team. Who leads
Oh,
the Pacers?
okay. I guess I'll say the Thunder is, I want to say Shea, but I'm going to say Dort.
It's Shea. 158 minutes. Yep. I'm just giving you the number because you can compare it to the Pacers leader.
Okay, the Pacers leader, I guess I'm going to say Siakam.
Halliburton.
Okay.
I was surprised. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like no one sits out. I guess I'm going to call Halliburton their best player. No one sits out their best player more than the Pacers. Is kind of how I feel. But he still leads them in minutes.
I guess
All right.
I would feel that maybe you should shorten those now because you're in the finals. Let's just lay it out there.
So if
But not too much. I don't want to exhaust them in the game.
this is the first game where I'm like, okay, SGA played 158 minutes. Oh no, I guess this is the series so far. So, I mean, I'm ready. I'm ready for Halliburton to match
shorter
their
rest. Yeah.
yeah,
Shorter rest.
and they are going a little shorter, but let's see, maybe
Yeah.
even a little shorter.
Right. Yeah. Because things do sometimes fall apart.
Unless he
without him.
can't, unless that's just something he can't do.
Yeah, if he's totally gassed.
All right, leading rebounders for each team.
Okay, for the Thunder, I'm gonna say I just have no idea. The Thunder. Is it gonna be a tall person? It's not those two tall persons. I don't think it's Chet. I'm gonna say Chet, but
It's
it can't
Chet.
be. Is
Yeah,
it? All right.
It's Chet. Yeah, 37 rebounds in the series in 4 games.
And the other guy seems to have really disappeared, Hartenstein.
They're playing him last for sure.
Yeah. So for the Pacers, I guess I'm gonna say Siakam.
Yes, 31.
Yeah.
Halliburton's second at 23.
That's a lot. Good.
So more of a team rebounding.
I knew it wouldn't really be Turner for some reason. Turner just
more-
needs to step up. Yeah.
Right. 2 more categories. Steals.
Who has the most steals? Okay, I'll go Dort.
Dort. No, it's not Dort.
Who would be the? Oh, is it Carlo or not Carlisle? What's the white guy's name?
Caruso.
Yeah, is it Caruso?
Caruso is tied with SGA for 10.
Is Caruso's first name Rick too? What's his first name?
No,
Why can
dadgummit, and
I know I scare.
I've known Caruso for so long, and because you asked me, Alex,
Oh,
Alex,
Alex. Oh,
and
that's not
he's
even close to
good.
Rick.
He's good on podcasts. He seems like a nice guy,
Yeah, I'm sure he's nice, but I just like him now.
and what a hard worker,
So who
maximizing.
has number one?
They're tied with 10, SGA and Caruso.
When they got him in the trade, I wanted to be like, what are you doing, League? Why are you giving him this? Why are you giving him to this team?
Right.
I didn't
It was a
understand
great.
that. Yeah.
I mean, they've just right.
The Bulls got that other guy. Sure,
Their
he's
good players
good,
are
but
young, and they drafted them, and they have a billion draft picks. And the only thing the main obstacle to them now is they have so many good players that the salary cap aprons are going to be tough to navigate because they have so many good players.
well, the only thing I would, if I wanted to make a perfect team, I would just make them slightly better shooting, right?
Sure. I think
Yeah.
they were a good regular season team, but not shooting it well in the playoffs.
Yeah.
All
What's
right.
steals on the Pacers?
Yep.
Maybe McConnell.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he's had some real obvious ones.
On those minutes.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause I'm trying to think who else stealing. Although, some crazy passes right into people's hands. Both teams. It's like
Yeah.
I guess the defense is so intense.
He did have one
Yeah.
turnover that really stood out
Yeah.
for sure. All right, last one. You could just go forever on these. 3-pointers made.
3-pointers made for them. Dort.
Yes, 11.
Yes, I feel like every time I look up, oh, Dort
That is
shooting the corner.
sickening.
Yeah. And then on our team, it's going
And
to
Caruso
be
has 8, by the way.
on our team. Who's it going to be? Is it going to be Tyrese, I guess?
Halliburton and Neesmith both made 10.
Okay. Yeah. You don't
All
see
right.
Siakam taking tons of them. Yeah.
Here's our last Pacer statistical game. The Pacers have 8 players averaging over 9 points a game, which is worth just pausing and noting, right?
Right.
8, and that's probably something that means we can have some hope for these last games.
Right. The Pacers are like a team, TAM. So
Yeah.
is OKC, but they have a superstar. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And they go deeper. The Oklahoma City, even though we
Tighten it
talk about
up.
all the
Yeah.
good players they
Tighten it up.
have, they're sort of out of depth. They aren't playing, they aren't getting a lot from. Let's go back to the box, and let's see what minutes look like in that last game.
The guy on the Pacers who sprained his ankle, he's actually a decent player too, and it's too bad he's not playing.
Who's that?
Walker.
Oh yeah,
Gerace.
right. Yeah. So Caruso played 30 minutes, so he's legit in the rotation.
Yeah.
Casey
You might
Wallace
as well be
played
a starter.
19. And so you kind of cut it off there, I think.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Um,
Well, it's the
Well, they got an extra player, maybe an extra player and a half. Okay, you want to try to, I don't know what's fun. How many, let's try to see if you can get the top 5 leading scorers in order. If you don't guess right, I'll tell you where they are. Who's the Pacers Pacers leading scorer?
The Pacers leading scorer would be Siakam.
It is 18.8. Great.
And then I guess I'll go Halliburton.
Yes, second. 17.8.
Let me think.
Third's tough, right?
Third is tough. I guess I'll go Nebhard.
Nemhard is 6th.
Oh. Is the third player a starter?
No.
Okay. Well, then I'm going to go. This is average, right? It's probably not Matherin. I'm going to say Toppin. That can't be right.
Toppin is 5th.
Okay. Then it's McConnell.
McConnell is 8th.
So is it Matherin?
It's Matherin is
Oh,
3rd.
okay. Well,
So
I guess he scored 27. That really threw it off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think you've said the 4th leading scorer.
He is a starter.
Yeah, and you haven't spoken his name yet.
In this whole thing, I haven't spoken his name.
I don't
the whole
in this guess
Okay.
in the guessing here, you haven't said his name.
Well, the only two left are Neesmith and Turner. Turner, I guess. scores more
Yes,
than
Turner,
Neesmith.
4th leading
Yeah.
scorer.
Yeah.
That's right.
Neesmith to me has been invisible. Good defense, I guess, but
Yeah.
this series.
Nimhart's the one where you're like, okay, if we don't get much scoring, we're okay with it because you're defending SGA. Two, you're handling the ball when Halliburton can't get it.
Isn't it funny how in the Knicks game, until the last game, I guess, or the Knicks series until the last game, it was Neesmith. Neesmith
Yeah.
is guarding Brunson. And now it's, and you'd think maybe isn't Shea a little, Shea is taller than um, Brunson. And you would think the taller guy, Neesmith, would have a better job with him, but he's not. Yeah.
Nimhart seems too short for this job,
Right.
um, but he's doing it. And I think it might be knowing him since elementary school, perhaps.
Right.
And then I thought I was just like, every time Neesmith got on SGA in the last 5 minutes, I was like, oh crap. And so I was frustrated with Neesmith's defense on SGA, but on like the one where you know how you like sweep somebody has their hand out, so you sweep your arms underneath them. He really didn't touch him. So
Right.
yes, his hands were on him. The right thing to do is what Nemhard did, was to show your hands. And I should add, just showing your hands to our slides on Monday's practice. We do some what we call guided defense. Let's get our hands up and show them. But so when they show those replays, I'm like, okay, Neesmith, you kind of got ripped off on that.
Right. That's what I mean. When I was saying like these ticky tack fouls, I felt like he got
So
ripped off a
the
couple
the
times.
shove travel that you complained against, that was against Neesmith. And then the hands in the cookie jar sort of foul, that was also didn't really look like a foul.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you need a cookie. Grab it.
And we started and ended with complaining about the officials.
Three NBA facts since we're done talking.
Okay.
Number one, let's give a shout out to Pacers defense. Really playing great defense,
Yeah,
right?
they are. Yeah.
Intense.
Nice
I mean, these
and
people are playing full court. I would be gassed.
yeah.
So shout out to that. Two, did you know Nebhard has a younger brother who's going to be in the draft this year?
No.
Isn't that
And,
interesting? They're
and you
projecting
really
him as maybe a second rounder. But people are now like, maybe we should look at this little Nebhard if he's like this big Nebhard.
I think the best thing you gave out was basketball she wrote. And I think the
They have
second
some
best
merch too, basketball she wrote in my
I
website.
think the best thing you gave out, and then the second best is that Nemhard has a little brother in the
Nebhard
draft.
has a little brother who is I don't have no clue where he went to school or anything, but I've been hearing about him on these draft podcasts and projecting second round perhaps. But
Well,
people are
let's
looking
just
at him
take
to
him
move
then.
up.
Let's take him.
Yeah, we'll take. Do we need two Nebhards? I don't know. Three, there was a trade this morning.
There was.
Desmond Bain from Memphis going to Orlando Magic. Now people are like, Orlando Magic.
Right.
For like Pope, who's played like crap, and a bunch of picks. They did get some great picks, but yeah, interesting little moves, and may perhaps Durant this weekend.
Okay, so you and I don't think we'll ever break down
The draft, no
break
prospects.
down salaries and
Right.
aprons and et cetera, et cetera. But just a semi-plausible, where would you like to see KD go? I think I made up my mind, or I have two. I have two. I don't even know how plausible the
I
second
think
one
if
is.
he went to Houston, actually, Houston would be really good because what does Houston need? They need shooting. Who's the greatest shooter you've ever seen besides, Curry or something? Kevin Durant, right?
Yep.
The mid-range master. So
I think I decided on my preference is the Miami Heat.
really, they're not going to be any good with him or without him.
Reason number one, yeah, it's a great point, Ann. I like your point there. I do think he would be incredible on Houston.
Yeah, I think he'd be great on Houston, and the Spurs would be interesting too,
Very
just
good
because
with
it'd
the
be
Spurs
weird.
too.
Yeah.
But I went number one, the Miami Heat.
And what's your reasoning for
And the
that?
main reason is because he would be on early enough that I could watch him more.
Oh, okay. Well,
Otherwise,
yeah.
his game starts at 10 and I would never see him.
Miami would be sexier, of course, than all the other teams, and you'd like to see a big name in one of the big cities. But I think those other two are interesting. To me, Minnesota, that I don't like that very much.
Yeah.
So
And my
I'm
second
hoping Houston Spurs, but I don't like Houston, but I think they would be really good.
and then number two for me would be the Knicks.
Yeah, the Knicks would be weird, right? He was in Brooklyn, now he's
Yeah.
Knicks.
Could you get him on the Knicks?
I think the money is trouble, right?
Yeah.
And why does Phoenix want Cat? That's not going to do them any good. They want a bunch of picks,
Because,
is what they need.
yeah, you think, not because you don't think Cat is good,
I don't think he's as good as KD.
right? A lot younger.
He's a lot younger, sure, but he's
Um,
also not a good defender.
Cat
Phoenix
has
sucks at
taken
defending.
Cat has taken so much crap for how hard he was for the Pacers to stop.
I know, right? He's obviously a really great player.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I got nothing wrong with Cat, but I don't see that happening. I think mainly for money. I think there was a money problem.
All right. So in our last segment, you're gonna give Switzerland
I'm
recommendations?
gonna give you Switzerland recommendations just because I actually had some. I started thinking about Vegas and I was like, what do I know about Vegas? Not much. And
Yeah.
then I started thinking about LA. I was like, well, sure, I guess. But so I thought Switzerland because I researched the hell out of Switzerland before I went.
Let's
Now,
just
before this
yeah.
was 2019, so pre-COVID, pre a lot of things. So keep that in
Let's
mind.
let's talk about really maybe this probably could have all been its own podcast. The short version of how do you decide you're gonna go where you go when you go somewhere like Switzerland, related to also how much time do you put into it?
Right. The more money I spend, the more foreign location is for me, the more time I put into it. Why do I personally decide on vacation spots? I think it's because I think, what am I going to do there? What am I going to do there? A lot
Mhm.
of times I am by myself, so that limits you. To me, when you're by yourself, you need activities, you need things that you're doing. I'm not going to be laying on the beach all day. That's just not, I think I look at these beaches and I think, oh, they're beautiful, wonderful, cool. But then I think, I'm going to be bored. I'm going to be bored at these beaches. So to me, it's like, what am I going to be doing? So that's what makes me focus in on a
Yeah,
place.
I think I put in, let's say that I was going to write a 20-page, really well researched article with 10 to 15 sources. That's kind of like the amount of work I put in, which usually involves at least one tour guide book, the ordering of maps, the watching of YouTube videos, and then really just grinding out Google Maps, looking at reviews and looking at things that are on maps in the area, is kind of how I figure out what I'm going to do.
Right. Yeah. I would say my last trip to London, I put in some of the least amount of work I put a trip. Part of that is because I'd been there before, but of course I went there like 25 years ago, so I should have perhaps done more. But I still put some research into it, and I know some people just go,
They just go.
they just go and they have no clue what they're doing. So
They quickly make a decision on a hotel.
yeah,
They fly there and then they just start looking around.
yeah, I did make a mistake on the hotel for London because I should have researched that a little bit more. But I
So
usually
we're
definitely go ahead.
you know that we're going back to Maui, which we might talk about on a different podcast. Um, and so we're staying somewhere that we couldn't stay because of the fire last time we went. And then in the second part of the stay, I literally probably looked at 150 different places. I mean, I
Right.
just get obsessed with it the same way I get obsessed with anything else. I'm just sitting in the recliner for hours, and it's like 11:30, and I'm still like clicking on places and looking at them.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've researched a lot, but probably not that much. And a lot of mine are price dependent. Like I cannot spend X amount of money. A lot of times I'll be picking hotels that aren't the best looking hotel you've ever seen, but I do it because of location. In Switzerland, for example, I stayed in like little box rooms. A couple of them were just tiny, but it was so expensive. Switzerland's one of the most expensive places on
Hmm.
earth. So yeah, I do a lot of research.
All right, let's hear your recommendations.
Okay, first of all, um, the only reason to go to Switzerland is for the nature, right? You're going there for beautiful nature.
And
So
when you
if you
say
don't,
nature, what do you mean?
glorious mountaintops, rolling insane hills, pristine nature, cleanliness.
Not flowers.
No, I'm not going there
Not
for flowers.
not bird
Mountains,
watching. Not bird watching.
mountains,
Yeah.
and mountains and mountains.
No water. Water?
Water. The water is beautiful too. Water and
So
mountains,
rivers, waterfalls,
lakes. I don't
lakes.
see
Okay.
a lot of rivers, I don't think, but
Okay.
lakes,
Yep.
yes.
Never been.
So if you're not going to enjoy those things, don't go to Switzerland. Don't go to Switzerland for shopping or eating. You
I like
certainly
this
don't.
because it's conceivable I would go to Switzerland in the next 5 years.
Right, yes. And if hopefully you can hike too. You're going to enjoy some just incredible hikes. So that would be my number one suggestion on Switzerland. My number two on Switzerland
Well,
is,
give me one hike or give me one mountain or give me one town in that.
well, the best area that I was at. I went to like three or four. I did a whole journey around the whole country. Um, the town I love the most, I stayed in a town called, I don't know if I'm going to pronounce these right, but I think it's Wingen. That doesn't really sound great, but it's in an area uh, that's like a triangle of mountains. The tallest point in Europe is right there as well. Uh, there's a base city where everybody goes, but I decided to go to up in the mountains more. And I actually stayed in a little city called Wingen that was probably pronouncing it totally off, but that you could only get to on a cog train. You know, it was pretty hard to get to, but beautiful. And there's another city in that same triangle called, and I'm going to pronounce this wrong. I want to say Lauterbrunn, something like that. Okay. It's the most extraordinary looking little tiny city I've ever seen. And that was the best hike I did. I hiked basically around and up and around Lauterbrunnen. So
Give
that
us
was
the
the
first.
best.
Do you have it in front of you? Give us the first 5 or 6 letters. Spell it for us.
No, I don't have it in front of me, but I can Google it real quick. The other thing, while I Google that, I would speak on is the eating in Switzerland. So I'm talking when you go to McDonald's, it's like $25. You know what I mean? It's expensive there. So what I did was pretty much go to the grocery store, buy some bread and cheese and apples, things like that. And that's what I would eat. And I wouldn't go out to eat. I went out to eat like twice. And if I go out to eat, frankly, I would go to places like McDonald's because the $25, that's all I can do. So that would be my other thing. Don't go there for the food. The food is not good for you. Okay, so there's a town called Lucerne that's very beautiful that I stopped at. Nice little old town. And that was on my way to this mountain town that I'm trying to find. Okay, Interlaken. So that's a place many people stay at the base, but I did not stay there. I went up to this little town called whatever I said, Wingen, Wingen. I found that.
Wingen.
Uh-huh. And then the other place is called Lauterbrunnen, Lauterbrunnen.
Did you rent a car? You rode buses? You rode trains? What'd you
The
do?
whole time I ran it. So that's my other tip for Switzerland. Research the trains. There's complicated rules sometimes on trains. And I had to do a lot of research to decide, do I buy a pass? Do I buy each ticket by itself? What I ended up doing was buying a half day card or half price card, which cost a lot of money. But then you get every train ticket half price. And it's something I had to pre-buy, So I had to do a lot of research on the trains. And I went everywhere on the trains. I took special trains that had great windows to sightsee all the way to Zermatt. Mm-hmm. Ever since I was a little kid, I've wanted to go to Zermatt, Zermatt. But actually, I ended up liking this other place, the places I just told you about a little better. But Zermatt was actually wonderful too. So I took this train ride out there, and just the sights you see on the train ride are pretty magnificent. So the trains are just pristine and wonderful.
You enjoyed looking out the window on the train.
I did. And they have certain cars that you can get that are made special for tourists to do that. The most embarrassing part when I was sad to be an American was I was on a train and this woman, you have to have your tickets. You have to show your tickets and you have to know what you're doing or you're going to get fined. And there was an American woman fined, on the spot. And this is like all in Europe. It's like that in Italy. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
If you don't have the right stuff, you're going to get fined. And it's not a little tiny fine, Anyway, there was this American woman with her husband, kids, her own parents. They were all quiet and nice. And she was just being the most Karen of Karens, complaining about this. How are we supposed to know? It was just so embarrassing. And I was like, if anyone asks me, I'm going to have to be like, I'm from the UK. I don't know this lady from America. She's so embarrassing. So know your trains, know what you're doing. I mean, I read a lot about the trains before going on there.
All right. Good job, Ann.
My third thing about Switzerland,
Okay.
Sundays dead. If you
Oh.
think you're going to go shopping on a Sunday, you're not. If you think you're going to go to restaurants, you might, but it's going to be dead. If you walk the streets, dead. Everybody apparently is home praying or doing whatever they do on Sundays.
Yeah.
Good
I,
day, perhaps, to travel, right? Do your travel day on a Sunday.
yeah. Well done, Ann.
Thank you, Switzerland. Love to go
All right.
back.
So here we go. Asheville, you've been there.
I've been to Asheville.
What are your impressions, or what do you remember doing?
I
Or,
mainly think of all the beer breweries.
yeah,
That's what I think of when I think of Asheville.
yeah, I think that's accurate.
And they have a really good shoe store down there too. I can't say enough.
Tops is not on my list, but
It's a
Tops
great shoe
shoes.
store. Those are the top
Megan,
two things for me in Asheville.
Megan would
Biltmore, I
also,
guess.
yeah, the Biltmore. I think Megan would also say, um, top
Tops.
shoes would she would put up there with a reason to go to Asheville. So my friend Mike Klopfenstein, we taught together at Fort Wayne. Carroll, I mean, I think the first thing is like that Indiana, and this goes back to a different time when I think Klopp was planning on going to Asheville and maybe the hurricane interrupted that or something, is that people don't realize how far it is from Boone, North Carolina in the mountains to Asheville, which is about 215. So, people will pass through Asheville and say, you want to meet for lunch? And it's like, well, that's 4 hours of
It's
driving
a big deal
for
for
me
me.
to
Yeah.
meet you for lunch. Although we are going to go. I am happy to, especially early July, make a day of it, going to Asheville and meeting with him and his wife. But so I started to try to write up some stuff to do, and in my typical fashion, I could see, well, this is going to be 80 pages, and
Right.
I have to cut down the level of detail. Um, so I mean, the first thing I would say about Asheville is, there's a street called, I think it's called Riverside Drive. And so you mentioned the breweries, like Wedge Brewery used to be right on the French Broad. There's this place called the Salvage Station, which was like outdoors, frisbee golf, volleyball nets, cornhole, some kind of beer can that's like 3 stories high. Really neat, a lot of character, quirky character. Asheville, quirky would be another word I would use. All those places are still closed, from the hurricane.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's kind of sucks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was sad. I think Wedge is relocated. Um, the salvage station has a GoFundMe. I hope to give more reports when I go in July. There's a place called the Ledges Whitewater Park, which when I last week we were talking about like why do I live in North Carolina, and like the feeling of standing on the river in a place like Ledges Whitewater Park, which is full of boulders and water rushing over it and whitewater. All that stuff is closed. So, and then remember once and the Torgersons, we rafted the whole length of the French Broad River and made a movie.
We did. We did. I was gonna say I've never been to this park though, but yeah.
You
The
joined later.
rivers, the scenery, that's the greatest thing about North Carolina for sure.
Yeah, you got in the raft at Hot Springs and rode the raft north of Hot Springs is what you did.
I have no idea what cities or towns
Yeah.
I was at.
So if
The
you,
main thing I remember that is that woman telling us about the house being on top of the mountain, how it ruined everything.
oh yeah. So that was about
What was her name?
Sandy.
Sandy,
So
yes.
that's on my list of recommendations, and that is actually not as far from Asheville as I was thinking. Blue Heron Rafting. I think Sandy owns it. So unless she sold it,
Really
and
nice woman. Yeah.
really nice woman. So she doesn't like clear cutting the top of a mountain for
It
you to
made me
build.
think. It made me think when she told me. It stuck with me. Yeah.
She's like, can you just take out a couple trees or trim some
Yeah. Do you have
trees?
to have a clear view? Yeah, I get
Does it
it.
have to be a 360-degree view all the way around? And then she's down on weed eating and mowing your riverbank all over the place.
Right, right.
So all the crap can run into the river, right? Well,
Right. She's loves nature. Yeah.
Sandy made a good impression on you.
She did. And I enjoyed rafting. I would like to do that again. That was fun.
So I didn't even bring up the Biltmore to Klopp. Klopp knows to go to the Biltmore. Uh,
Right.
but if you happen to be listening because you're like, oh, I want to hear what Torque says about Asheville, I can't not talk about the Biltmore. And I would say, so it's expensive, $80. It starts at
The
$80.
Biltmore is $80
Yeah,
a person.
a person.
That
And
should be
then
a car.
and then they yeah, and then they have the flex pricing in the same way that the you know how you like you go to Universal Studios or Disney and it's like it starts at 220 and then if you're going in August, it's more than that. Have you seen
Yeah,
that?
like surge pricing for an Uber.
Yeah, same. So they have that. So I can't even remember what it was, but it wasn't 80. It was more than 80 per person uh when in July. And
Well,
then
I'll tell you right now, I would never pay $80 to go there. That's too
yeah,
much.
right.
Yeah.
I know, right. So that's kind of how I feel, but you can't really
Yeah, I mean, if you've never been there, I guess. Yeah. I only
but
say that because I've been there numerous
it's a
times.
magnificent, elaborate house.
Yeah.
And then the grounds are pretty cool in that there's like a restaurant and a tavern down by the river. All that stuff is great. It's really a hassle to get in there too, isn't it?
It is that I remember, but
Just
not too
like
much.
lined, yeah.
Yeah.
And then the last thing I would say about about the Biltmore, you have to pick a time slot to go now when you buy your ticket.
Oh, it's just like Disneyland. Yeah.
So like I think there was only I just randomly clicked on a day in July and there was only one ticket left for like an 11 o'clock entry, something like that.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So you have to, it looks like first couple entry times are mostly gone and then last entry of the day is mostly gone.
It's kind of harder than going to Yosemite.
Yeah, no, right. I mean, some of that stuff scared me about Yosemite too. Okay. So, I mean, again, I have more on the torque.com, but a couple things I would say parking incredibly tight. So I listed a couple
I mean, the
places
city and
in Asheville to
right,
drive. Okay, so I would say the number one thing, and then I'm just throwing the Biltmore out. The number one thing is downtown.
right.
And there's a couple different areas of downtown, and the parking's tight. And at thetorg.com, you can read my recommendations. First, my favorite free place to park, which requires walking about, I don't know, half mile into town, but also right by a really good Thai restaurant, which doesn't interest you, Anne.
No, we have
Um,
great Thai restaurants here. I live very close to Thai Town.
and you don't
LA
eat
fact.
and you don't eat Thai.
I
So
don't eat. Yeah.
I listed three or four streets that if you're downtown, checking out Wicked Weed Brewery and I think same company, Green Man Brewery, downtown. So I have those lists. And then I have some of my favorite hikes, and I think you've been on them all. You might remember too. Craggy Gardens is probably a 35-mile drive from Asheville.
I remember the word craggy. Yeah.
Yeah. Really great. I've seen bears driving to that hike. I've also arrived at Craggy Gardens and was worried I was going to drive over the edge of the Blue Ridge Parkway because it was so foggy. People don't really, I don't think, outside, like when we were in Indiana, we had never heard of the Blue Ridge Parkway.
Right. I don't think I did. I mean, maybe.
Magnificent road with incredible views way up in the air. Graveyard Fields is the other direction, which I don't think you remember.
I
Um,
remember that name too, maybe.
oh,
Graveyard
it's
Fields.
pretty
That was
memorable.
very, yeah.
And
I
then,
sent you a text of Walter.
thank you, Anne.
You're
We're getting
welcome.
some pictures from Anne that we'll throw on the website for the Switzerland Rex. DuPont State Forest, you've been to. You've walked behind the waterfall that was in Last of the Mohicans. Remember that?
Still think about that hike sometimes,
Oh, you
even though
do?
it poured down rain the whole time. Well, not the whole time, but it poured down
It
rain
was
a lot.
we stuck it out. We got absolutely soaked. I think the hike wasn't pretty, but the waterfall was worth it.
Yeah, I think the hike was just normal, but the
It was like
waterfall is all worth it at the end.
maybe even like a really wide horse trail.
Yeah, perhaps. I
And
think we
then
were prepared though. I think I had a rain jacket and everything.
yeah. So that's I mean, whether you're going to Switzerland or Asheville, if the weather's not good, you have an incredible less to do.
Right. Yeah. It actually poured down rain in Switzerland when I was in Zermatt. And I was really worried about seeing the what's the most famous mountain top? Oh my God, people are gonna be screaming at me. In
I only
Zermatt,
oh okay.
there's the most famous mountain in the world. I can't
Everest is the most famous
Google
mountain.
Zermatt mountain while I'm talking. And you'll be like, of course, that's the mountain she's talking about. Anyway, I was worried that I wouldn't be able to see it because of the cloud cover. And one day it just poured down rain, poured down rain. And I am walking through the mountains in Switzerland, and two guys in a truck who looked like they were working, like workers in the forest. said in very broken English, are you okay? Can you make it back? And I was like, I'm fine. And I was just soaked to the bone. So it was pretty crazy rain.
The Matterhorn.
Yes, the Matterhorn. And I did see the Matterhorn though. But I had to wait till the clouds broke before I saw it.
So more information at thetorg.com. I already told you about the rafting. I really like the New Belgium Brewery. It sits up high on the French Broad River. It's right across the river from a former favorite area of town that Hurricane Helene, I think, destroyed a lot, but hopefully they're rebuilding. I'll tell you when I go. West Asheville, South Asheville has the Sierra Nevada Tap Room. You've been there. And then my 2 restaurant recommendations, both of which have multiple locations, one of which I mentioned last time being in Johnson City, Rocky's Hot Chicken Shack.
Oh, I remember that. I don't remember if I like the food or not, but I remember the place.
And then White Duck Taco.
You know where I like to go when I visit Asheville and my parents lived there? The Dairy Queen. It's a Dairy Queen right down the road.
Yeah, Klopp's gonna. I think if Klopp lives in Indianapolis, he's probably doesn't need.
Probably used to a Dairy Queen. Yeah.
Oh, you know what I almost forgot, which I think is the Grove Park Inn. I think people could skip. So it's built out of local stone. Presidents have stayed there. I think Carter stayed there. FDR stayed there. Obama stayed there.
I don't remember it.
You can park. You might have to pay to park, but you definitely can just go to the bar and get a drink and get like an appetizer or something and not eat the probably more expensive dinner. And there's like plaques on the wall about who stayed there.
So you just said to skip it, but you're saying don't skip it.
No. I'm saying go.
Go. Okay.
Go. Gotta go, I think.
I feel like I drove by it. It seems familiar.
I think we went to dinner there once with, I think.
Oh, it had like porches and.
You know what? I think it was, yes. I think it was Mom and Dad's anniversary.
A rocking chair. Yes, I have been there.
Scotty, Megan's mom, Scotty was there.
Right.
I label that as the best view in Asheville.
Yes, I forgot. That is pretty. I remember it now. Yes.
So I don't want to leave that out. All right. And we probably should have went separate podcasts for Switzerland and Asheville, but we cut it down a little bit. We did it.
That's okay. We can always expound on it if the listeners want.
So how many games are there until I talk to you again?
There's going to be a game Monday, and there's going to be a game, is it Thursday?
Monday. Let's see. Yeah, Monday.
Monday, Thursday, if needed, Sunday, right?
Monday, Thursday. So, and then what time? It'd probably be at night on Sunday too, right? Yep. 8
So
o'clock.
just thank goodness that at the very least, it's a competitive, great series.
If we talk on Sunday, the series could be over.
I hope not, because I feel like that means Indy lost. But
it would be. Would it be more fun to talk about it? It would be more fun to talk about the upcoming Game 7 than to talk after.
Unless you're talking about 2 straight Indy victories.
Right. No, I'm just saying, like, let's say, would you rather talk about we'll probably talk about it before because I can't be up that late. I have camp the next week, kids camp at Watauga. We would talk about either the upcoming Game 7 during the day, or we could talk, like on Monday or Sunday night after the finals have been decided. Isn't it more boring to talk about it after it's over?
Especially if we're depressed and we lost.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know.
You won't want to talk about it. That's right.
I hope we're talking about Indiana pulling off 2 straight victories and the Pacers get their first
They're the
NBA
champs.
championship.
They're the champs. Yeah. And then we'll have to find something else to talk about.
I know.
What's coming up this week?
You just got to go heavy on the fever, I guess. I don't know what else to tell you.
Yep. What's coming up this week?
Nothing.
Nothing at all. We got 3 workouts coming up. We're we're playing at 3 games, the JV and the varsity at App State team camp. I'm getting ready to lift weights and clean up trees pretty soon.
Awesome. Well, you have fun. Have a great Happy Father's Day.
Thanks. And Happy Father's Day to everyone listening, and good to see you.
Good to see you.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Smart takes the shot, and the Hoosiers with 3 seconds. Go ahead.
But what we found out is that each one of us is a brain and an athlete
and a basket case, a princess,
and a criminal. Does that answer your question?
I love you guys.